Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. Yes, you see it right. Yes, you see what's on your screen. We are doing a Sung Jin Woo or solo leveling What If today. Yes, it's only gonna be season 1. When season 2 comes out, obviously we'll be doing season 2 for these videos, but obviously for now we're gonna just be doing season 1, and it's a pretty I would say basic season or basic rundown, and in terms of what ifs, it should be short and sweet for the most part. But you know me, sometimes I like adding a couple things depending on the circumstances. But today we are talking about what if Sung Jin Woo was a master martial artist. Now, it's either gonna be master martial artist from the start or something like that, but I wanted to talk about this idea for many reasons, and I just want to say all that really quick because I want to get into the video. But before we get into the video, please check the links in the description. I have a Discord down there. If you want to come and join the Discord, feel free to join the Discord. You can leave suggestions for what ifs and stuff like that, so feel free to join up. Now, with that said, let's get into the what if. Let's get it. Sung Jin Woo is in a world that is so different than any world you could possibly think of, because this world initially was normal. Everybody was just normal people, but then out of nowhere, portals began to open up and creatures began to invade Korea, and it seemed as if everybody was in shock. Everybody was going crazy, and everybody was trying to stop this invasion, but they couldn't. But years and years go by, and finally these portals are a part of everyday life. And it seems as if these portals are part of the jobs that many other people would then go through, other known as hunters. But the thing with Sung Jin Woo was that he was the worst, the weakest, and the least hopeful hunter of them all, an E-ranked hunter. But not just an E-ranked hunter. He was the bottom of the barrel, the lowest of the low. So weak that frankly, he shouldn't even be setting foot in a dungeon. But when you have stuff going on in life and you really need money, then maybe the best choice and course of action might be going through those dungeons with a raid party. But with that said, this world or this version of Sung Jin Woo is a lot different. When he learned that he was an E-ranker, he learned that you actually can't get any stronger, that you can't get more powerful, that you as a person have massive limitations. But when he heard about this, he believed that there was no way that it was true, that he would hone his E-rank body to the maximum, and that is what he'll do, and that is what will get him to being so good. So what did he start doing? Well, over a course of years, he would begin honing his body in the art of martial arts, all sorts of mixed martial arts. We're talking judo, jiu-jitsu, karate, kickboxing, boxing, anything you could think of. He tried to master it all. Years would go by, and Sung Jin Woo would do his absolute best to learn these martial arts. And what he didn't know is that he was gonna have a bit of an affinity to these martial arts, a bit of like a prodigy in a way. And it seems as if he gets extremely good at almost all of them. And well, let's just say there is no joking around about the fact that he is weak in terms of power. Don't get me wrong, he is no regular hunter. Normal hunters who maybe are, D, C, maybe B rank hunters, they're able to use some sort of powers, right? Some are super strong, some are great healers, and all of the above, but no, not Sung Jin Woo. Sung Jin Woo only has these hands, and frankly, that's what really gets him through a lot of this time. So this is a version of Sung Jin Woo that really we don't really pity him as much. Now, he is pretty pity because he is still pretty damn weak, but when he has to deal with these, creatures, monsters, opponents who aren't really that strong, well, it seems as if he's able to actually do something with his hand-to-hand combat prowess. And it seems like all of them are kind of in shock at the fact that Sung Jin Woo is able to do this. I mean, at the end of the day, it's still very impressive. And we've seen in the world of solo leveling that people with really high-level skills can truly level up their own game. Now, don't get me wrong, this doesn't make him less of an E rank. He's still an E rank and still pretty damn weak, but it does prepare him for some of the more minor creatures he faces. When he faces these goblins, he's far more equipped when dealing with them. He might not even have a weapon on him, but with just sheer martial arts, he's able to fend them off, kick, punch, anything, right? Throws and so forth. And it seems as if he can actually eliminate some of them as well. Now, this would eventually lead him to a dungeon gate one day with his friend Lee Jo-hee, or Jo-hee. And let's just say, this is the day that everything will change for Sung Jin Woo. Because he would go in to this gate thinking, it's just a normal gate, nothing fancy, nothing crazy. And he would head in kind of thinking that he still just needs to make money. Because at the end of the day, his mother, who is basically on her deathbed, well, she needs help as soon as possible. So this is the best way for him to do it. Now, he would go into this dungeon, and it would be your ordinary dungeon. He would think it's something simple. It's not easy for him by any means, but he doesn't get hurt as much as he would normally get hurt. The normal Sung Jin Woo thing. And he would go in and they would do their thing and it would all be finished. But the thing is, and it's odd because the boss is killed, but the gate does not collapse. But instead, it actually reveals a second connected dungeon, a double dungeon. Now, they actually decide to go through that said double dungeon. Of course, they do a little bit of a voting on it, or they vote on it. And a lot of them do vote to keep going. But here's the thing. When they go through this double dungeon, they realize that this is something that they would never have expected. It seems like there's specific rules that they have to abide by. Specific rules to survive. That there's these statues, and it says these specific rules that you have to revere God. Second, you need to praise God. And third, you need to prove your faith to God. Now, with all that said, nothing really changes in this scene. The several hunters decide to run away and they die. And a lot of them finally listen to Sung Jin Woo and they finally do the things that need to happen, right? They need to revere God. They need to praise God. Then they need to prove their faith. And this is where things are terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Because they have to keep their eyes on these stone statue-like people or gods or creatures, whatever you want to call them. And if you don't keep your eyes on them and you don't stay where you're supposed to stay, well, let's just say you'll be ending in a really bad way. But it seems as if these people could not prove their faith to God. They would sneak out, try to leave, run away. After seeing the blood and gore of what happened to their friends and their colleagues, they could not hold their ground. And eventually, let's just say they were left with some people, and the only people that were willing to truly stand up. Jinwoo and obviously Chi-yul and also Jo-hee would be standing there. But they know that there is no option here. And Sung Jin Woo tells Jin-yul to get Jo-hee out of there right now. So they would leave and they would actually have to knock her out so that she would listen. and he would watch as they would leave escape, and he would be the only person there. He would tell himself that he won't go down without a fight. He puts his hand up, and he can see his own hand shaking. He would realize to himself that even in his sparring classes, even in every martial arts tournament he's ever done, he's never felt this kind of fear. He's never felt this kind of fear. Ever. Ever. In which he would stand his ground, but standing his ground would not be good enough, because he would be smashed, obliterated, and it would be imminent death. However, as he dies, he sees a message that tells him that he has completed the hidden quest and may become a player if he accepts the offer. In which, of course, he would, because if he doesn't, his heart will stop. So he accepts that offer and wakes up after a 3-day sleep. And frankly, he initially thought he was dreaming, but he was approached by these kind of officers or these kind of other people, and it seems as if they were questioning him, right? The investigators from the Hunters Association explained that, that it did happen. Everything that happened did happen. And frankly, they wouldn't have believed him in what happened if they didn't have multiple people actually saying what happened, right? Because when they went there, there was nothing there. And, well, Sung Jin Woo is at a loss for words, but they do say that he may have had a second awakening. And they say, just between them two, they know he's a hard worker, right? They know he's been training in martial arts and trying to hone his skills. So maybe that has been kind of a after effect. Maybe that has helped him get a second awakening. But guess what? There is no second awakening. He's not any stronger. The test comes back negative, and Jinwoo discovers, well, that he's not any stronger. Well, at least initially. Because he would then discover a message that would declare him a player with daily goals to actually hit. And there is a penalty if you fail to complete them. Now, being who he is, he's very tired. He's very exhausted. And normally he is pretty damn good with his workouts. And normally these workouts would be very simple. But he's exhausted and tired. And, well, coming out of a coma like that for 3 days, he doesn't want to do push-ups. He doesn't want to do sit-ups. He doesn't want to do a 10-kilometer run. He doesn't want to do 100 squats, right? He doesn't want to do all that. And, well, let's just say he really should have, because he gets warped to a desert with a giant centipede. And he would be chased for hours. Now, I would say that he would be able to fare some chance against this thing, but it is a giant creature that is far stronger than him. But don't worry, this is when Sung Jin Woo begins to start actually doing his daily quests and actually starts giving, his stat bonuses, his loot boxes, his ability to heal if he so needs it, and all of these things. Now, a lot of this stuff that is happening and that happens normally would go pretty damn similar, right? We'd have a very, very similar kind of idea and similar things that would happen, all the way up until he gets his first dungeon key. Now, when he enters that dungeon key and goes through, he would take on, goblins again, but then he would also take on these wolf-like creatures. Now, with him being there and his ability to actually utilize martial arts and his ability to actually get stronger and stronger through level up, let's just say Sung Jin Woo has a far easier time than he's ever had before. I mean, so much so that these wolves and these creatures, they don't really scare him the way that they would scare him, like initially, not even close. And Sung Jin Woo would easily be able to kind of fend off these wolves, gains tons of levels, and even gains weaponry that actually would help him in hand-to-hand combat, because frankly, that's where he excels at. If he can get gauntlets of some sorts that are extremely good, well then that's what he wants. Any sort of blade that he can attach to his hands, or gauntlets or brass knuckles, those things would help him massively, more than any other normal dagger or blade. And frankly, He would realize this to be true as he levels up, upgrades his strength, and upgrades his ability, which a lot of the stuff does go into strength. Well, he would finally find the boss, the dungeon boss, and the dungeon boss is a very, very scary creature, right? Because this dungeon boss, well, it's no joke. This dungeon boss is a giant serpent of some sort, and it takes everything out of him to defeat it, but in turn, he is very strong, and his technique is practically flawless, so he's not just dashing around with no means. He's able to conserve energy a lot better, he's able to strike back a lot better, and he's able to strike down the serpent with a giant kick that could be felt all around the room, taking the serpent's head clean off after a bit of struggle with the serpent. Now, in terms of a weapon, this weapon would be different. Instead of getting a dagger, the dagger we normally see him use with a poison effect and so on. Yes, it's very useful, but this time around, he would get these bladed gauntlets. These bladed gauntlets that would help him with his hand-to-hand combats, but also these attachments that can be used for his legs and aka his feet, and it would be kind of like steel-toed boots, but with the ability of kind of using a blade at the end of it. So a lot of his weaponry, he definitely derives it heavily toward his either hand-to-hand combat skills or the way his feet or his legs kind of work when utilizing his martial arts. So it all of his weaponry heavily derives from that. Now, with that said, when he comes out of the dungeon, he actually does run into kind of an interesting thing, right? An interesting thing. This dungeon boss was no joke, and he got tons of levels from it. But meanwhile, outside, there's a dungeon break, which is basically a dungeon that got kind of broken through, and it allowed a golem to enter the real world. Arriving hunters include a PTSD-stricken Jo-hee, of course, and she's trying to heal and trying to do her best, but frankly, she's not really doing an amazing job. But this leads to Sung Jin Woo basically picking something up and chucking it at the golem, shattering it to pieces almost instantly. Now, he does leave without a trace, and many wonder who did that, but Sung Jin Woo wanted nothing to do with the publicity because he's not too sure how fond these people will be of himself, especially when they don't know for sure if he's like, some false ranker or something like that. He doesn't want to get in trouble, right? So this would lead to Sung Jin Woo kind of knowing that he needs to get more money, he needs to get a sustainable life, right? Yes, he has the power now, he's slowly but surely getting the power, but he needs to get more money, help his mother, get a way to save her, right? All of these things. So he does call and look through different things and eventually finds and joins a C-ranked hunter by the name of Dong Suk. Now, him and his 5 associates in a kind of a pickup group to tackle a C-rank insect dungeon, right? With the contract stipulating that Jinwoo doesn't really have to fight, but won't get any battle drops. He's just there so that basically they all can go in and get or go in because of the eight member requirement to enter the dungeon. And also on top of that, Yo Jin Ho is a person who's there as well, whose family is massively wealthy, but he's also pretty damn weak, being that he's a D ranker. So it has gotten him massively equipped with very expensive and powerful gear. And let's just say Sung Jin Woo begins to feel very, very uneasy about this, because when they're defeating the wave of monster ants and so on, he begins to feel and can sense the ill intent by Dong Suk, and it seems as if he's actually going to do something that is very, very bad. Now, they all eventually arrive at the dungeon boss, a giant sleeping spider in a room with highly valuable mana crystals and such. And it seems as if, Jin Ho reviews Jinwoo's contract and notes that since crystals aren't technically battle drops, Jinwoo would get a full share. But in retaliation, Dong Suk decides, hey, we're going to trap you in there with the giant spider and have you die. But here's the thing. Because they think this is going to work, but Jinwoo is fully and utterly prepared to kill this dungeon boss. Now, of course, Jinho is in complete shock and terrified, thinking, oh, I have to protect this guy, he's an E-ranker, and so on. But Jinwoo absolutely beats the crap out of this spider, and he shows the technique and also the power that he's gained. Because I want to make it very clear, we have seen people, or later on we will see somebody fight somebody of a higher rank, but with his technique and prowess, he was able to keep up a lot better. Now, if you give Sung Jin Woo the ability as a master martial artist, you also give him massive amounts of strength, he would have no trouble actually in a technical sense, like in a technique portion of things, be able to strike beings down extremely brutally, especially with his different weapons, his kind of hand gauntlets and or his steel-toed like weaponry boots that would allow him to kick and punch things at a totally different level, right? It allows him to be extremely impactful in terms of fighting these creatures. Now, after he successfully defeats the boss, much to Jinho's absolute and utter shock, Donsuk would re-enter with his group, and they would think, oh yeah, these guys are dead, blah, blah, blah. But then he realizes they're not. Like, this is crazy what just happened. So he attempts to kind of get Jinho to actually kill Jinwoo, but yeah, Jinho refuses, and Jinwoo gets a quest to kill Donsuk and his entire group. And let's just say hesitation is not part of the game. He accepts, and he begins the beating of a lifetime. The beating, because this is a totally different time for this group of fighters, because Jinwoo is gonna use his hands, and his hands hurt really bad, and it gets to the point where he beats the entire group except for Donsuk, but then he finishes off Donsuk with a kick, one head kick that would knock him so bad that his whole head would go flying off, eliminating all of them immediately. And let's just say he would gain a ton of XP for it, and he would gain a lot of benefits from it as well, getting a lot of money and a lot of stuff as well. And the massacre would definitely make Jinho think about, well, it seems like this guy might be a false ranker of some sort, or I don't know, something like that. Now, Jinho does use a cover story, basically saying that the others were slain by dungeon monsters and stuff like that. And eventually Jinho would offer Jinwoo kind of like a ton of stuff, a building in exchange for his help and fulfilling requirements for kind of like guild certification. Initially, Jinwoo would reject the offer, but he notices that his time would eventually be kind of important to actually gain money with Jinho, but he puts that on the back burner, at least for the moment. He would actually notice that his daily missions would actually be incrementally increasing past the normal requirements. So he decides, hey, let's just do that now. Let me max it out, see what happens. And in doing this, he's actually rewarded something that is pretty crazy, an S-rank dungeon key. Now, this is no joke. This is no joke for a dungeon, but he does know that the special potion that he needs that can heal basically any illness, well, he needs to go into that dungeon so he can make it. Now, this is the cure that he needs for his mother, and he decides that this is worth the risk. But he would then realize pretty quickly that the first battle, well, it's already too much for him, at least at this stage. Now, he has to take down this Guardian Cerberus, which nearly kills him on multiple occasions. And really the only reason why it doesn't kill him is his kind of natural ability in this version of himself to dodge, survive, weave, and kind of make sure that he stays out of harm's way. Because initially we were dealing with a Sung Jin Woo who had no experience in fighting. This Sung Jin Woo has a lot of experience in fighting. And on top of that, he is either the same level, if not stronger already. So he's able to kind of bob and weave through Cerberus and land kind of these crucial blows. But don't get it twisted, he still would almost die multiple times, but eventually, with just a little bit of health left, he would be able to slay the beast just like he would in normal, and he would be able to, his reward would be the key to the castle. But of course, he would decide, hey, I need to hold off on this because really this is not the best idea for me to go in there, at least right now. Now, Jinwoo would spend some time kind of visiting his mother and doing stuff along those lines, and eventually he would kind of be working with Jinho, kind of running through dungeons that would allow him, for a creation of a guild, and they would continue doing this more and more, and eventually he would actually run into a C-rank dungeon with a group of hunters that he once knew. A lot of them that were actually in that double dungeon, and Jo-hee is extremely happy to see him, and so is Chi-yul, and many others are embarrassed to actually see him because, well, they kind of left him there to die, and that is the reality of it. But of course, Jo-hee and Chi-yul are very happy to see him. But it seems like this dungeon is gonna be a little bit different than the others because, well, a B ranker by the name of Kang is going to enter, but also enter with imprisoned hunters who are there to basically serve in exchange for reduced sentences. Now, initially, everything's going fine, right? Everything's going completely fine. There's a 3-junction way where they all split up and they kind of do their own thing, and they basically use this separation to go down different paths. But Kang actually has a different idea for himself. He begins to actually murder the prisoners, take out the prisoners, and let's just say his whole scheme was to take them all out and just be done with the prisoners, from then on. Now, the fight with Kang will go a little bit different. Now, initially, Jo-hee and Chi-yul would actually be saying, "Oh, well, we'll fight, right? Like Jinwoo, don't, like, you're not ready for you're gonna get hurt, blah blah blah, right?" And Chi-yul was going to take the forefront, and he shows some good swordsman skills, but before he could even get taken out or even hurt, Sung Jin Woo jumps into action. And he immediately starts fighting Kang, and he begins to put the beating on him. And it's obvious that in terms of skill for skill, Sung Jin Woo is on a different level. This guy may be like an assassin, right? But Jinwoo is a master martial artist that has mastered multiple martial arts forms, multiple forms of MMA, and he begins to absolutely just beat on this guy. And yes, Kang does try to pull out some crazy stuff, but with the help of Jo-hee and even a power up from her, well, Sung Jin Woo doesn't really have any struggles with Kang. Kang would try to use his own kind of his own powers, but even Jinwoo is able to react to everything, even within the darkness, even within his little kind of his trickery. He refuses to let up. And with the help of Chi-yul, I mean, it's even easier, especially because he's not going to be, hurt at all. And he makes it, and Sung Jin Woo makes it very clear that he's ready to help fight. Now, of course, they're going to have to cover for Jinwoo, and of course they do, because Jinwoo doesn't want anybody to know that he's gotten stronger and, gotten better and so on. And, of course, this secret would go kind of with them forever. They say they're not going to say a single word. And Jo-hee would literally go with her forever because she would end up retiring as a hunter. And Sung Jin Woo would be kind of at odds about it because, she does mean something to him. She does mean something to him. And he's kind of at odds with her leaving. But he does continue his kind of requirement or, kind of his side of the bargain with Jinho about getting these, filling out these dungeon requirements and stuff like that. And eventually people would start taking notice of what he's capable of. Now, initially people were kind of impressed by him, right? They were kind of impressed that someone like Sung Jin Woo would decide to learn and pick up martial arts, get stronger, and so on. But it also seems as if this guy is kind of like, getting a lot stronger. They're a little bit confused. Like, how is he getting stronger? Yes, you can do martial arts, you can do this, you can do that, and stuff like that. But how are you getting stronger from it? Like, there should be no way for you to actually get physically better, like to another level. Maybe technique will be better, but other than that, it shouldn't get you any stronger. That's just not how it works. At least that's not how it works in their eyes. But the White Tiger Guild's recruiting manager notices Sung Jin Woo's name and kind of puts the pieces together and thinks he must have been reawakened, right? He attempts to recruit Jinwoo, but obviously it fails. And Jinwoo would kind of blow him off and trick him and get get money from him that really didn't need to get, but hey, we'll take what we can get. And eventually Jinwoo would receive a message after all of these dungeons that he's been working on about having achieved a level requirement. Now, this level requirement involves a job change request. Now, this change request actually teleports him to a massive castle. Now, he would have to fight through a ton of knights, assassins, and mages, very similar to what he's been dealing with for a little while. But at this level and at this stage that Sung Jin Woo is at, his hand-to-hand combat is practically flawless, and his strength and his capabilities and also his weaponry that massively lean toward his hand-to-hand combat kind of help him get through these mages and assassins pretty easily. And it's really not a problem until he confronts Icarus. Now, Icarus is the blood-red knight commander. Icarus is every bit as powerful as Sung Jin Woo, if not more. But the thing is, this version of Sung Jin Woo, in just a technical martial arts technical standpoint, he is so much better, right? It is not your basic movement. It is not your I'm going to punch him as hard as possible type of thing. And don't get me wrong, original Sung Jin Woo isn't idiot. He's not an idiot by any means. But this version of him is a lot more technical, a lot more strategic. And he makes a plan to take down Icarus. And let's just say he's able to get the upper hand on Icarus on multiple occasions. Now, after finally looking and landing the blow, as he literally would land a perfect kick that would actually lean his blade, slicing the head off of Icarus, or at least slicing it into Icarus, not completely off, but into Icarus's neck. It would finally end the fight between him and the Blood-Red Knight commander. And he would think that it's over. It tired him out. He's exhausted and he's weakened, right? And he sits there. But then here's the thing. This is when the actual job change quest activates. It unleashes an unending horde of monsters. Same thing he's already fought. But while he's fighting them, it seems as if he feels as if there's just no way he can finish the job. At least initially, right? He felt if he's going to finish it, he's going to finish it with like his last legs. He'll collapse and pass out forever, and then he'll finish. You know what I mean? Like, he'll barely finish it. And that really goes to show the conditioning and the martial arts and all of the stuff he's done before that really allows him to kind of hold up. And he does this so much that he's down to the last bit of this kind of session of these hordes. But before he can finish the job, well, he's transported to the penalty zone from his daily quest. Now, this does give him a time to recover, but he felt that there was a good chance he could have survived during that giant horde. And, well, he definitely would have been able to survive it. And the reason for this is all the training he's put his body through way beforehand that would allow him to kind of set himself up at a totally different level. Because this is a Sung Jin Woo that was already pretty fit in general and already prepared when he got the system. Now, this would lead him to coming back to the Horde finishing the horde off. And as a reward, he gains, well, the title of Necromancer, leading it to Shadow Monarch. And as he gains this last little bit, the Shadow Monarch, and he would look around and realize he has an ability to bring back the dead. And eventually he would input kind of the word that he would use, the command word of arise. And as the others, without a thought, would arise from the ashes, would arise from the ground, he would need one more person to arise. And in a first time, the first time he uses it, he would focus, he would kind of put his passion and his martial arts prowess and his kind of honor on the line. And he would tell Igris that he can follow suit and follow with him someone who is honorable, someone who has worked, clawed, and scratched and bloodied his sleeves for all of this. Or he can lay dormant in the ground. And I think he knows what he should do. And he would say, "Arise, Igris." And as this would happen, Igris would arise. And of course, Sung Jin Woo would name him Igris and Igris only, giving him that title. And that is where this will end. Now, I know a lot of the things in this, that's why this is why we're a 36-minute video, right? A lot of the things that would happen in the story would go very similar. But I just wanted to point out that really him being a master martial artist from the start, well, it does allow him to have a better time in some of the dungeons before the system, and frankly, a better time earlier on, and then eventually kind of utilizing the martial arts aspect that he now knows can really heavily help him in his weaponry and heavily help him in the other dungeons that he would go on as they go along. But there's a reason why that I wanted to do this video, this Master Martial Artist video, before Season 2 came out. Because I truly believe that it gets to the point where everything goes basically the same, if not just a little bit easier for someone like Sung Jin Woo. Because he trained earlier on, yes, he's more technically sound and stuff like that. That helps him a lot more in the earlier portion of things, right? Heavily in the earlier portion. But as you get later, like I said, in the reality that we know, in the actual canon, he already beats Igris. So it's not like he needed more help and nothing else kind of changes. Yes, I love the OP what ifs and I love kind of doing crazy stuff, but genuinely, if I gave him freaking, and maybe this is something we'll do, if I gave him Ultra Instinct, it would be easier, but at least I would have more to talk about, right? I would have a lot more to talk about because of what would happen and what he could do to some of these people in that reality. Now, with that said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. This is my first actual Sung Jin Woo what if, and if you enjoyed it, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. I think what I want to start doing for the Sung Jin Woo what ifs is doing the whole season 1 in one video. And when season 2 comes out, I may do the same depending on how season 2 is set up. Maybe we'll do Sung Jin Woo like what if season 1 and then Sung Jin Woo what if season 2. So maybe you'll even get a version of this with a season 2 edition. But I'm not going to make any promises, not just yet. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like I said, though, please leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. And I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And I hope to see you guys next time. Later.